All right, everyone. So this is for laughs, but you might actually learn a little something as I work here. So the joke is that I'm having to digitize with my left hand, and it's just so awkward sometimes. Although in the last 24 hours, I think I've improved a little bit. But just for fun and for laughs, thought I would do a video with it and maybe share a couple of tips. So I've pre-digitized this quick square so I'd have something to shape. And what I'm going to do is open my control points. I usually hit H on my computer. You should have a tool for that. This is the one for the Bernina software, which is what I'm using. But the shortcut is H. And if you hover over your tools, you'll see what the shortcut is. See, it says Reshape Object, H. So that's a kind of a cool tip I learned in Photoshop actually, and realized, hey, I could translate that into my embroidery software and other software packages. You just hover your tool, and most of the time there are shortcuts. Sometimes there aren't, but usually, like this one, Show Artistic View, you just hit the letter T and then hit the letter T to undo it. And that's usually how the shortcuts work. Okay, so I'm going to put a square control point here. And I'm using my Wacom tablet, which I was learning to use. So I don't know if it's hindering me or making it easier, but I think it's probably making it easier for me. I'm going to put a control point down here. Your square control points create straight lines. As I'm trying to find the surface of my tablet, and that's why it takes me so long to touch. Whoops, I was going to move it and I deleted it. Even my right hand doesn't know what to do now. It's like my brain has to, oh, okay, hold on. I undid my control point, so back to H. Okay, there it is. I think I clicked something accidentally. Shocking. Okay, I'm using my arrow keys because my left hand is just not steady enough to drag that point into place, and I just wanted it on the center line. I usually don't digitize with my hoop showing, which is up here, but I wanted to see where my center point is, so I turned on my hoop centering lines so that I could put my control points top and bottom on that line. All right. So I'm going to remove, well, actually, I think I'm going to leave my cross there so that I can still have a reference as I work. So you'll see what I'm doing in a minute. So I really do want to be mindful of where my center line is right here. All right. I'm going to click, which is a right click, and on my pen, it's the bottom of my little clicker that's on the side of the pen. So the top click creates squared control points. The bottom, or wait, let me see. Yes, oh no, sorry. Okay, if I just basically just touch my pen to the surface, it will create a squared control point. If I if I hold down the bottom part of my little switch and then click, it'll create a round control point. However, if I accidentally put in a square control point, I can hit my space bar and change it to a round control point. But I don't really need that one yet. Okay, so I'm going to turn my corners into round control points. So I drew a square because this directional line is telling me the angle of my stitches, which is 45-degree angles. And when that line is in the way, it's very difficult to select that square control point. So I just draw a bounding box, oops, there. So to select it, and then I hit my space bar to turn that into a round. And remember, squares are straight lines, circles make curves. Okay, now I can drag it. All right, I'm going to make this one a round control point as well. Try to grab it. All right. And I'm going to grab this control point. I'm trying to touch it to select it, but my pressure is not quite right. Okay, there, I got it. So I'm going to, instead of dragging it, I'm going to use my arrow keys. Just pull down on it. All right, that's what I'm looking for. And then I think I'm going to put another round control point here to hold my line in place. And then I'm going to drag this control point up this way. Okay, if I was using my right hand, I would have had 10 of these done by now. But this is better. Whoops, I went to grab it and I created a square control point, so I'll just delete that. And the only time you get a control point is if you actually click on the line. So if you click outside of the line, it's not going to create any control points. You have to stay on the line like this. All right, this looks kind of ugly, so I'm going to fix this, make it a little more graceful. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now zooming out, I'm going to hit the letter B. Normally, when I was using my regular mouse, I have a wheel on it, and it's so nice because all you do is wheel it in and wheel it out to zoom in and zoom out. But with the Wacom tablet, which is one of the things I was still learning to control, is I can't zoom in the same way. And I don't use my zoom tool up here. I don't really look at percentages and how zoomed in I am. I just know what I need to look at. So a quick way well, okay, with the tablet, you have to hit the letter B, which is, I think that's the shortcut for your zoom tool. So if you just hit the letter B, you get the zoom tool activated. And if you hold the right click, and I'm using the pen, so I'm going by that. I never used this tool before because of my mouse, but now with this tablet and the pen, like I said, it has to be done differently. So I right click to zoom out, I left click, and actually to zoom in, I hold down the left click, which is the top of my little switch. Whoops. Ugh. All right, hold on. When you lose your, okay, that's like it zoomed away and I don't know where it went. So when you lose your design like that, I hit the 0 on my keyboard and it brings it up to fill the frame. And another shortcut, if you hit the number 1, it zooms out to actual size. So a quick way to fill your frame is to hit the 0. That's the Bernina software, and I'm thinking a lot of the software have common shortcuts. If not, find out what your shortcut is for full frame. It makes life a little bit easier. Okay, so I hit the letter. Okay, I'm going to hit escape to deactivate this and start over. I'm going to click away just to make sure I don't have anything selected. I don't know if that's influencing it or not. I don't think so, but anyway, I don't need handicaps. I have enough of my own. So, okay, now starting clean, nothing selected. I'm going to hit the letter B. And I think now that I'm instructing, it's like I have to think about these things. And I was saying left click, but I don't think you have to left click. I think I just need to draw a box around the area I want to zoom in on. There, that's what I was doing wrong. I don't know where I got the left click from. So that's how you zoom in. Okay, that's on the line. Okay, we're good. So I'm going to go to back to 0, which is fill the frame. And now what I'm going to do is draw a box. If I can get high enough here. Draw a box. Let's see if I got it. Around both of those points on the right. And I'm going to delete them. I'm just hitting the delete key. All right. So now I have some graceful lines going. Now what I need to do is to make sure that this line is perfectly vertical. So by perfectly vertical, I mean I don't want it to have these little jagged, let me show you. Okay, letter B, zoom in. See the little breaks in the line? Looks like steps. To me, that's big no-no because your line is not perfectly straight. So what I can do is use my arrow keys and you can visually see the lines straightening up. And I just inspect my line all the way down. I'm going to hit the letter P for panning so I can slide down. There's a break in the line right there. And I think that's the only one. So I'm going to hit escape and then because that deactivates that panning tool, there's another break right here. So I'm going to work up the line until I see no more breaks. It straightens up the line until you get to the next break. Okay, it straightens up the line till you get, okay, it's clean right there. I'm going to hit P. Want to see the next section. There's a break right there. Hit escape. Now, because, wait, going back to P for panning so I can see if I can grab the control point at the top. Okay, so I need to move this control point to the right a little bit to fix that line. I don't know if that fixed it, but let's see. So you can see how excruciating this is using my left hand because I could move around so fast on this if I could. And this part wouldn't have taken me quite so long. All right, my line is nice and straight. So it may not show in your stitches, but I think it does. And little things like that compound and compound until you don't really have a really good quality design. So I just, as long as it's in my control to keep it straight, keep it neat, keep it as sharp as possible, then the needle will have that advantage already when it's time to actually stitch it out. So I want to do my part to help my machine produce a really nice design. Okay, I'm going to hit escape. Now, I think this might be a little bit, it needs a little bit to be a little more smooth. So I'm going to add some control points here. If I can, there. And see it moved, but thankfully it moved into a nice position. So it smoothed out my line. The fewer control points you use, the better. It makes smoother lines. But sometimes you have to use more than just a couple. Just depends on your project. And I'm going to do here. Okay. So I'm going to highlight this. This looks like it needs to come out just a little. Okay, now here's something that I normally do to see how I'm doing. Okay, first of all, I need to get rid of this hoop. And I work on a gray screen because it's easier on the eyes. I don't like bright screens, and I like subdued colors like blue and green and just colors that are easy on my eyes and doesn't glow because of contrast and so whatever works for you is good. But I do think it's important to pick colors that are not going to work against each other when you're trying to view your lines in your design. Okay, so this is almost filling the screen. I'm going to hit 0. Okay, I'm going to go through to a realistic view, which is T, just to see what that looks like. And because this is a fill design, you're going to see the edges are going to not be exactly sharp in this view mode, but I want to make sure I'm not seeing something weird going on. And at this point, I might change the angle of my stitches. So I would highlight this. And for example, so if you right click when it's selected, and you can't see that it's selected because it's in the realistic view, but if I went back to the other view, you can see that it's selected. Okay, you right click while it's selected to open up object properties. Here's where you can change the type of fill, and so I might move this aside and select something maybe just totally different. And you can't really tell which one, you just have to try them out because every shape you make is different. It's going to display your stitches a little bit. Even if you know what they look, even if you memorize what each of these look like, you still need to see it in your object just to see if that's the look you're looking for. So you hit apply, not OK. If you hit OK, it'll close the screen. So there's one pattern. Let me try another one. Apply. And I don't know, that looks interesting. So let's say I want to try that out a little bit. So I'm going to open up my control points again. I'm hitting the letter H, or you can click up here. All right, there's your control point, your angle tool right here. And this tells me it's 45-degree angle, so I'm going to try and select it. I'm going to change the angle just to see. Sometimes it changes the look completely because it's mimicking the way the light is hitting the design and how it may look in real life. All right, so I'm going to change the pattern a couple more times. I don't use these a lot. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay, I kind of like that, but I think the angle needs to be back to 45, maybe. Okay, let's say okay. But let's see, I need to zoom out. So let's see. B. This is, see, I have to think about every step. Okay, my right hand has to think about where's the B and what am I supposed to be doing, is what my right hand's saying, and my brain's going, what should I be telling your right hand to do? And the whole time I'm thinking is like, okay, stop and think one thought at a time, because it's like my brain is trying to talk to my hands in different ways, like somebody mentioned on Facebook. All right, so I've got my zoom tool selected, but if I right click, I need to zoom out a little bit. And what I don't like about this setup is I can't zoom out to my, I don't have a choice. It's in increments, so I don't have a real choice other than zoom out and just with the zoom tool selected, I can draw the box around it to zoom in a little closer, like where I think I need to be. And what I needed to do is be able to access these angle tool. So I can change it so it goes the other direction. All right, that's kind of how I like what I was thinking. I don't like the way that's got half a stitch in the works right there. Sometimes you just have to live with it, but that looks a little better. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to hit the letter O to just select it. And so if I hit undo, see, I can see that was cleaned up a little bit. And this looks all right. It showed up over here because there has, so I might go ahead and shape that to remove it. So let me see if I can do that. Like just bring that in just a little. To the right and upwards and right and upwards. I don't want to just go right because it's going to change the shape too much. It's going to move away from what I was trying to do here. Okay, so now I need to control this like this, and then maybe bring this in just a little to smooth out this flat area. Instead of making it bigger, I don't want to go bigger. All right, so down here it's telling me, oh, I've got it, my screen isn't recording, but down here there's actually dimensions for me so I can keep track of what size I've got here. But if I wanted to know the size of a particular object, so down here it tells me the size of my entire design in this design window. So if I had bits and pieces everywhere, it would tell me the entire dimension of that whole layout. When I select an object up here, it tells me what that particular object measures. In this case, the object is the same as my design field. So I just wanted to show you that. All right, so it's like 1.5, just over 1.5 inches wide. That's not bad. So I'm kind of on my way here. So I'm going to copy it. Okay, now here's where I'm running into trouble because I don't know if it copied it. Okay, it didn't copy it. So I'm going to copy. No, it still didn't copy. It's my pressure. Okay, let me try again. So what I'm afraid of is copying something and thinking it didn't copy and then have 2 layers of something where I didn't mean to do that. Seriously. Okay, copy. And I can do it with my keys, but it takes, you can do it with your keys, Control C, but I want to learn to touch my tools with this right amount of pressure. What? All right, let me try again. Why is that not copying? Okay, I'm going to try my right hand just in case it's the software. Huh, the software is not copying. All right, back to, all right, so my software has stopped working for some reason. This is what I mean, my computer is about done with me. So I'm getting ready to get a new system. It's just so full. All my hard drives are just so full. It almost doesn't have any space to work out my functions and memories and think about things. And I couldn't even copy pictures the other day because there wasn't enough memory to copy my pictures to another drive. Because you have to have free space on your hard drive to do that. And that's why I know I need to, it's time. It is time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use Control C and then Control V. I think that copied it. Let's see, now I'm going to flip it. All right, I'm going to drag this over here. I'm going to hold my Control key down and I'm going to align them. I just align the bottom. or the top or across the middle, whichever works, because they're identical. So it doesn't matter in this case. And if you're not sure, I mean, they are identical. The computer just copied it. So, all right, so then I can scoot this closer. And then what I would do is I rarely do something like this. I would rarely do underlay using the software. I would create my own underlay for the entire thing, so that I can control the angle and the edges. And so when you do underlay, you can do it, but it's just not my way of doing it. So I could go to Effects, Underlay, select Underlay. In this case, I would probably do Step and maybe space it at 2 and apply it. And it would have the underlay. Now, let me see, Properties, Effects. Whoops, sorry. All of a sudden, I don't know where my stuff is. That's the other thing. My brain can't seem to I can digitize without really thinking about it. But now that I'm using my left hand, it's like I'm having to think about where these things are. It's just the weirdest feeling. But it's such a challenge that I'm just bound and determined to learn to do this and be proficient with my left hand. It's time to give my right arm a vacation. So, okay, so I have my pull compensation and it's at 0.2, so that's good. And I don't always look at this, but in this case, I'm looking at it because I want to make sure that my underlay is not going to be too close to the edge, or I think that affects underlay, but it also in the, oh my goodness, okay. I shouldn't have to think about this, but I have to. Okay, so here too, if you put it, there's several ways of controlling things, but if you put it on medium and hit apply, then it brings the underlay in to the inside a little more. So it's a little more forgiving. But like I said, normally I create my own underlay. So I create like a second design under my top fill stitches, and then I'm able to control exactly what's going on underneath here. Angles and overlaps and the edges and what I do to the edges and underneath all of that. Under my heart, I would like to control everything that's going on underneath there. And with this, you really can't control too much other than those three choices of normal and wide and narrow margins. Those are the choices you get, and you do get to choose the length of the stitch and the spacing, but you can't adjust where the underlay is going to hit underneath as an individual object. So that's why I create my own uh, underlay for these larger filled areas. Okay, so instead of duplicating my going into settings and all, I think I would just, let's see if it lets me this time. Paste. I think it did. Yep. All right, so instead of going back and changing all the settings for this, I'll just go ahead and duplicate that layer I just adjusted, align right, and you select the object you're going to move. And well, wait, what did I just do? Yes, you select the object you're going to move, select the object you want to line it up with, align right. Okay, so I've got the new object on top. I'm going to hold the number 2 down so that I can, if I keep selecting this, I'm not going to be able to select the one underneath. So when you hold the number 2 down and select again, it switches objects and it selects the one underneath. So there you go. And here's what I do with control and exit, entry and exits. I'm going to go ahead and change the color of my first object, doesn't matter what. Okay, so I'm going to open up my control points again, hit the letter H, and I'm going to pan. I'm looking for my entry. There's my entry. Escape. So you just select where you want to enter, and this might be all right here. Sometimes if I don't like the way the stitches look, I might move the entry point or the exit point, depending on if it's created a bulkiness there in my way of thinking. And then here's the exit. And the reason these are so far away is because they're first part of that square, and after I reshape the square, the control points stay right where you left them. And then when I'm done reshaping, then I move them to where I want them to be. Okay, so if it's going to exit there, then I'm going to hit tab, and it'll move to my second object, select my next object. So when you have an object selected in the control point mode, or even in the selection mode, when you hit tab, it'll move on to the next object in the sequence, which is an easy way to select an object. Okay, so the exit point is down here for the yellow one. That means that I probably maybe want to put my exit point up here. I'm going to hit P for pan, find my entry point, just move it, pan, escape, and entry. Now I can select my first object. Oh, I meant to select number 2. I was just trying to make it both the same color. Your overlap needs to be more than that, but it just depends on your design. I will sometimes zoom way in. So here's my, oops, 0. I keep forgetting I don't need to right click. I just need to draw a bounding box. All right, so there's my overlap. I might decide I need more of an overlap. There's a problem down here because changing control points or exit and entry points and making adjustments is going to change the shape of your objects a little bit. So I pay attention to all these little things down here. For example, right there, I don't like that at all. So I might need to create a control point here. Whoops. Okay, didn't mean to switch objects. I'm going to hit undo. Go back to this object, if I can get it to select. Okay, I'm going to carefully there. Then I'll bring this up. But notice how my line here changes shape, because think of it like a wire. So I think it went back to its original shape, but I don't trust that. So I would go like this, go back, just hit undo. And then I will go ahead and I can either put another square control point here, which will hold this in place. It won't allow it to move up here. Or just add I'm drawing, there we go. All right, I'll put one right here. And that doesn't create more stitches when you have a fill because the fill stays the same. So it does if you're making a straight line and you add control points, the needle's going to penetrate in every one of those control points. Okay, so now I can move this and pretty much keep it the same shape. And then I would double check, and then I would have to do an overlap here so that it melds properly without having any weird stitches sticking out in the wrong places. So there's a little more to it than just making two halves and leaving it like that. Plus you have to compensate for the overlay, however much you're going to overlay that, and go back to the bottom and just make sure this flows. That's probably too much of an overlap here, but you just have to make sure it flows. And entry and exit points might need to take place up in here so it doesn't affect what's going on down here. So I thought it was going to be funny trying to do this with my left hand, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised. This is becoming easier than I thought. Okay, there's one-to-one, which is the same as clicking. Let's see, I'm so used to my shortcuts that where is my one-to-one? Okay, there should be, or is it down here? So sorry, you have a tool that says one-to-one somewhere up here. Maybe it's in the zoom. Well, 100% would be one-to-one, but there is a tool up here. Maybe it's because I'm thinking with my other side of my brain this time. But, I'm sorry, I have not used that tool in so long. So anyway, when you hit one-to-one or hit the number 1, you're at one-to-one, which is realistic size. So if your screen is calibrated means, let's see, settings, which means you measure this little box with an actual ruler out of your desk drawer and put in the numbers, and then the computer will make it the true size for you, so that when you're looking at your design, that's the true size. And then hit T for the realistic view. And this is interesting. The direction on the on my piece changed, my stitch angle. So sometimes that's what I call quirkiness in the software. Don't understand it, so sometimes you have to go in and you have to pay attention to all those things. That's why I don't always trust the software to do things for me. So I will, a lot of times, will just do it manually. So I may go ahead and change the angle manually, and I will do a superimpose this flip. Well, let me see if it'll even let me do that. It's like I have to think about where my selection tool is. All right, so let me see if it does it again. Maybe it was something I did. Copy, paste, flip it. Just to model it. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, see, the angle is not the same. This should be going up this way. So the software is changing the angle on me. So you just have to do it manually. And that's where, you know, paying attention to detail will, you know, sometimes make or break your final products. So there's just so much to learn, but it's doable. I mean, if I can learn it, you can learn it. So, and it's just a matter of how anal you are. I happen to be very anal, so I do notice these little things that maybe they're not so little once you stitch it out. It's you know, you don't want to put this heart on something thinking, oh, you're making this special gift on this beautiful towel, and then it stitches out and you think, what just happened? Well, that's what just happened. The software pulled something, and but you need to expect that because I'm on version 7 of the Bernina software, and I have yet to come across a version that doesn't have quirks. And it's things I've never come across before that with every version. So the previous version, I had things worked out and worked around things and had my own fixes. And then another version comes along and I have new problems, and the old problems are not a problem. And so it's like I'm having to learn to do things again, and sometimes and the tools are in a different place. And I mean, I had to look in my manual to find out where portfolio was when I got version 7. I went to do my open portfolio, which is where I do all my conversions, and I could not find the tool. It used to be up here. You just click the little square somewhere up here. That was portfolio, and it was like I looked and looked and looked, and then when I looked in the manual, it was right here, and that's where you launch portfolio from. So that's why I can't remember. I don't know that I've ever used the one-to-one view in this software. Maybe that's why I don't know where that tool is, but um, but like I said, it could be because my brain is working from the other side now, and it's I'm having to think about things that I've never thought about in years. Like even where my control key is on my keyboard, because my right hand's looking for it, not my left hand. So it's like my brain has to think about it first and has to tell my right hand, and then my right hand can find it, because my left hand doesn't need my brain to find the control key. My right hand does. And so anyway, I hope you learned a little something, and I'd like to bring more videos like this. So, but if you want to laugh at some of the stuff I did, go ahead and laugh. I'm still chuckling over some of the things I was doing earlier. I'd go over here to switch windows down on my taskbar down here, and I'd end up launching a program, having to wait for it to open so I could close it and get back to the window I really meant to click on. And sometimes my pen hits the tablet, and I end up with my objects scattered everywhere. It's like spilling my milk on my all over my desk or something. Except here, it's easier to you just click undo and whoops. Okay, what happened there? You just click undo, and you're back to where you were. So nothing lost. There's nothing to be afraid of. I hope you enjoyed this, and hope you learned a little something, and just keep praying for me. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping this shoulder problem is temporary. I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do, and that's why I'm working with my left hand. And but now that it's become a possibility for me, I think I would love to, even if my shoulder was healed tomorrow, I will keep using my left hand, because I think it would be wonderful to be able to give my right side a break. Sitting at the computer with a mouse or pen in your hand all day long is not healthy, and it's what I do, and I try to take breaks, but you get so involved in what you're doing, you just don't want to give it up even for a little break. So um, I'm trying to develop better habits, and I hope you do too. Take breaks, stretch your arms, and don't do what I did and mess up your shoulder. And although I think I messed up my shoulder exercising, but this computer work is aggravating it. So and I know it can cause the same problem. So just be careful with your body and your health, and but keep doing what you love. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.